Hi, my name is Kristin. This is Kristin Kraves Books. So I'm here with a video that I look forward to watching every year, and I'm so excited that I finally get to film one of these on this channel, and this is my best books of 2021. Now, according to the Story Graph, I've read 130 books this year, which is definitely my best year of reading, and I have BookTube to thank for that for sure, because I started blogging in 2017 and that really upped my reading, but BookTube's taken it to another level. But I do want to say that I think next year I'm going to focus on quality. I'm going to try and get through some of my big books, but that's a topic for another video. So I read a lot of great books, having said that. So it was really hard for me to narrow it down to 10 of 130, but I've managed to do it. And I put them in sort of an order from my 10th favorite to my favorite book of the year, but these are all fantastic. And I have a mix of genres here. Only one young adult. I read 37 young adult books this year, which seems kind of low for me, and only one of them made this list, but I did read some really fantastic YA books as well. So I think that's all the intro I want to say. So I will start with my 10th favorite book of the year, which is one that really snuck up on me, and this is The Lighthouse Witches by C.J. Cook. This is an extremely atmospheric read. If you love books set on islands that are mysteries, you have to pick this one up. It's got that witchy element, which makes it really fun and unique. I really liked C.J. Cook's writing, and the tagline on here says 3 daughters, a secluded island, secrets unearthed. So that has so many of my buzzwords. I love books about sisters, so we are following a main character whose mother and 2 sisters went missing on this island, and we're following her, the one that survived, in the present when one of her sisters is found, and she's still the age that she was when she went missing. So there's lots of questions about what's going on there. Is there a changeling? There's lots of rumors about the island being haunted by witches who were killed during the witch trials, and we're getting perspectives in the present day, in the time where the sisters went missing. We get the perspective of the mother, and then we also get a grimoire of somebody who was around when these curses may or may not have started. So it's so brilliantly done. That could be overwhelming, but it just works. The author did a fantastic job with it, and I just fell in love with it. I was not prepared to love this as much as I did. The next one is another one that really snuck up on me in a different way. I have grown to appreciate it more as time has gone by. As I was reading it, I knew that I loved it, but I didn't think it would end up on this list. But when I was looking through all the books I read this year, this one was really jumping out at me, and I knew I had to include it, and that is The Jasmine Throne by Tasha Suri, which is the first in a series. This is a chunky book for me. This is so outside of my comfort zone, and I think that's why I loved it so much, because it opened me up and made me realize that I can like higher fantasy novels like this one. And it's just, this is Sapphic. It's part of that Sapphic trio that came out this year. That I also read She Who Became the Sun, which I enjoyed. And there's another one, and it's not coming to mind, but it is on my TBR. And I really thought this was fantastic, a great setup to a new fantasy series. We're following this young woman who is a prisoner. She's being imprisoned by her brother, and then she's also a princess, and then a maidservant who gets into trouble, and they kind of start working together. It's really elaborate. There is some pacing issues in here, like it is a longer read, but trust me, it is so worth it. I cannot wait for the sequel fantasy. This is The Inheritance of Accordia Divina by Zoraida Cordova, and I just received a physical copy under the Christmas tree because I love this book so much. I listened to an audiobook from Libro FM, and this book reminded me why I love magical realism so much. It is so beautifully done in this, and I really love Zoraida Cordova's writing. I have a feeling that she could be a new favorite author. I really want to explore her backlist next year. So really, we're just following this woman who invites her grandchildren to her funeral, or to come before she's dying. She knows she's dying. She wants to say goodbye and talk to them about her life, and we jump around a lot. There's lots of magic in here. I don't really want to give too much away because I knew nothing going into it, and I was just blown away by it, and I think that's the best way to go about it. But this one's fantastic and introduced me to, I think, a new favorite author. We'll see. Speaking of favorite authors, next I have A Song for the Wild Built by Becky Chambers. I always include a Becky Chambers book on this list if I read one of her novels during the year, because they never fail to blow me away, and this was no exception. It's just a novella. She does incredible novellas. If you've read If to be taught if fortunate, I believe that's what it's called. It's excellent as well, but this is the start of a duology, I believe. The second one comes out next year, and it's such a simple story, but it's so good. We're following a tea monk and a robot who are from very different worlds. This is a world where the robots rebelled and haven't been seen from in many, many years, and the tea monk decides to go on an adventure and runs into a robot. It's just the conversations they have. It's so beautifully done, and Becky Chambers really is known for her characters. They will bury a hole into your heart. You won't forget them. That is why I read Becky Chambers. That is what I look for with all of her novels, and I definitely found that in this one. It wouldn't be a true favorites list for me if I didn't talk about a Tiffany D. Jackson novel. I finally read Monday's Not Coming this year, and I think this is my favorite by Tiffany D. Jackson. How do you even describe this one? You'll be confused when you read this one, but you have to trust Tiffany D. Jackson. The ending completely blew my mind. It was so well done, fantastic, nothing I'd ever read before, but this is so heartbreaking. We are following Claudia, whose best friend Monday goes missing, and no one around her seems to care. So it's really just a story about her trying to find her best friend, trying to figure out what happened to her best friend, and her just being brushed off by society and everybody in her life, everybody at school, and her parents not really believing her, and it's just, oh, it's crushing. And I actually want to reread it. Now, knowing where the story goes, I think I will get a lot more from it upon a reread as well. Okay, now we're into my top 5, and my 5th favorite book of the year I actually do not own, but it's excellent, excellent on audio, and that is Razorblade Tears by S.A. Cosby, and I've talked about this book a lot. Everybody's talked about this a lot. It deserves all the hype it gets, especially if you enjoy audiobooks. And this is following two fathers whose sons were married to one another, and they each had complicated relationships with their sons, but when their sons are murdered, they come together to seek revenge. It's powerful. I cried. It's hilarious. It's very gory and violent at moments, and just read it. I really want to read Blacktop Wasteland by S.A. Cosby, anything that he writes, because I thought this was fantastic. Then my 4th favorite book of the year is the conclusion to probably my favorite series, and that is the Practical Magic series, and this final book is the Book of Magic. And if you know anything about this series, you know that it follows the Owens family, who are cursed, and they are witches, and their true love is destined to die. So that happens throughout all 4 books in the series, and this one is the conclusion of the curse, the ending of the curse. I cried as well in this one. It's so heartwarming. We see so many of the characters from the Rules of Magic and Practical Magic come together in this one, and all the relationships with one another, and it just touched my heart so much. I had a smile on my face the entire time I was reading this. Even when I was in tears, I was still smiling because it was so moving, and I just thought Alice Hoffman couldn't have done a better job with the conclusion of this series. I think the books just get better and better, and Alice Hoffman is one of my favorite authors in the series. Even if you have just read or watched the Practical Magic movie, I think you should try the other books. They're actually better. I think Practical Magic is actually the weakest one in the series, but I recommend it because the series is so worth it. It's brilliant. Now my top 3, I've been talking about these books tons throughout the year, so I don't think this will be a surprise to many people, but number 3 is Claire and the Sun by Kazuo Ishiguro, who wrote my favorite book of all time, Never Let Me Go. And Claire and the Sun gives me very similar vibes to that one, which is why I think I loved it so much. I also read The Remains of the Day this year by Kazuo Ishiguro and loved it, but it's so completely different. What I think Kazuo Ishiguro does so well is the light sci-fi set in our world elements. And I've discovered that I love any book about AI or robots or clones and the ethics behind all that, and that's really what he digs into in his novels, especially in this one, and I was moved by it. I know there's been mixed reviews of it. I can totally see where that is coming from, but I loved the ending. I loved everything about it. I loved the world. I loved reading from the AI's perspective, Clara, so I thought it was fantastic. Now the next 2 I went back and forth about which one was my favorite, so this could change in a week from now, but I'm pretty confident in this. So my 2nd favorite book of the year is Project Hail Mary by Andy Weir, and I have a feeling this will be on a lot of lists because it's fantastic, especially in audio. I'd highly recommend the audiobook. But Andy Weir has a special way of making the science in here accessible. There's a lot of science conversation, and I'm sure some of it went over my head, but I was really entertained by it, intrigued by it. It felt authentic to me. There's a character in here that I can't even tell you about because I think just knowing that they exist kind of ruins some of the magic in here. But Ryland, who's our main character, is very reminiscent of Mark Watney from The Martian, so if you love that, I think you're going to love this. There's similar humor but I think I liked Ryland just a little bit more because he's more self-deprecating, and at the beginning of the book, he wakes up alone on a spaceship. His 2 partners are dead, and he's got no memories of who he is or why he's even there, and things are slowly revealed. So we get him on the ship, and then we also get flashbacks to him preparing to be on the spaceship, this mission to save the Earth. The ending's so bittersweet, but so stinking beautiful. I love the ending so much. And yeah, this book is fantastic. I know that it's being made into a movie with Ryan Gosling, and I cannot wait for that. And now my favorite book of the year, which I actually read in January of last year, and it's held its place as my favorite book, and that is Pure Nessie by Susanna Clarke. The writing in here is epic. Susanna Clarke is such a great writer. The world in here is like nothing else. This is a book I can't even begin to describe to you, except to tell you it's kind of epistolary. It is written in journal entries. Let's see if you can see that there. It's too late. There you go. So it's like you're reading Pure Nessie's journal entries, so it feels very authentic. But the world that he lives in all takes place inside this house. There are tides, the ocean, creatures, statues. The only person he interacts with is somebody that he calls the other, and there might be something sinister going on there. And it's just, you're going to fall in love with Pure Nessie. You're going to fall in love with this world. You're going to fall in love with his writing. I never thought I'd want to read a 1,000-page novel, but now I do want to read Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norrell by Susanna Clarke. I've heard it's incredible. If I can have 1,000 pages of her writing, I will be happy. So this blew my mind. I can't believe I read it in January and it stayed my favorite, but it deserves a top spot. Even though this one, Project Hail Mary, became really close, this one has just really persevered. So I am very happy with those top 10. I think I will be talking about those for many years to come. And if we have any favorites in common, please let me know. Or what was your favorite book of 2021? I would love to hear it. So I will see you in my next video. I think I'm going to film a disappointing reads video, which is not as fun but is as interesting. So I will talk to you soon. Bye for now.